So, Tim, you've heard me say that I really believe in Vintage Grace. Our best sermons are not on Sunday mornings, but they're lived by our people on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in their homes, at their jobs, even in the hospital. And so a couple weeks ago, I was prepping for John 9 and this blind man's sermon, and you blew up my phone a few times just with you were studying the text, getting ready. And what was it about John 9 that grabbed your heart these last couple weeks?
Oh my gosh, so much. I've been reading through it, and that first couple of verses where people walk into it and say, hey, Jesus, here's this guy who has this ailment, who's physically hurt. Who sinned? Who was it? Was it him? Was it his parents? And Jesus' response was so important to me. He says, no, it's not for either of those reasons. It would be for the glory of God to be revealed, for my power, for my presence, for you to be able to see those things right now. And for me, it really hit home because about 2.5, maybe 3 months ago, was sitting in sermon, and everybody's got their own little worship stance. Yours is running in place. Yeah. Mine's right here, and I'm worshiping God, and all of a sudden I feel, that's interesting. There's a lump right there on my It's not on that side. And it just got me thinking. Kind of walked home. I'm not much of a hypochondriac, but something wasn't quite right, and so I reached out to my doctor. We went ahead and did a ultrasound of that, and it came back an indeterminate mass. We don't really know what it is. It's nothing bad, nothing to worry about. Within that 2-week time, I had a really weird pain, and right here in my chest, and I wasn't able to kind of put it to rest. Like, what is that? And the more it kept getting worse, almost like if it was growing, and a weird feeling. So I reached out to my doctor, and she was very concerned. And her concern caused me to pursue it a little bit further. Yeah. We'd seen those things kind of take place with a very close friend of ours who had a Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis over Christmas. So it was on our mind a little bit. So I went ahead and took my doctor's advice for once and went ahead and got a scan. And that scan came back that it was a form of cancer.
There was this sense of, God, what are you inviting me into? Mm-hmm. It could be cancer. It's a form of cancer, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll knock it out. What was the diagnosis?
At first, the diagnosis was that we think this is a form of lymphoma. Yeah. That is exactly what our close friend just got diagnosed with. The mass was in the exact same area, the same spot. Okay, now understanding that with the mass that it's here and here, these two little lumps, how close they are together, that's going to be like a stage 2. Fast forward, biopsy, the mass inside my lung. And yeah, you were here that night, maybe a month and a half ago, got the information that it was not lymphoma, that it was a super rare, weird form of cancer called thymic carcinoma.
In this process, not exactly what we wake up in the morning saying, God, what are you inviting me into? This is what I hope we see. What have been some of the things that you've been experiencing in your journey with Jesus in this reality?
Man, one of the things that me and some of my friends have been talking about of that laser-like focus, like when we come to church on a Sunday and we hear you speak over and over about, God, for your glory and my good, Lord, what are you inviting me into each day? And Sundays I kind of show up and go like, man, I missed it, God. My focus was really off this week. We sing songs, we get read his word, and then, okay, we're going to go off and focus on those things. During that time for me, it really forces you to confront, do I trust? Yeah. We say that we trust, and one of the things, God, I do trust, not enough. I trusted when it was stage 2. Now that it's stage 4, do I actually trust? And come to find out, I do. Like, it's so good. People ask me, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm great. They're like, how is that possible? How are you great? I mean, because of this focus. Yes, the gap from my physical desired state and where I'm at is wide physically right now, but that's not the case. And so during this time, those first couple of days, that first week, got some tears out there. But that was very short-lived, and now it's that focus of, God, what are you inviting me into? And now, if you leave a funeral or something like that, something drastic happens in your life, you have to ask those questions again. God, what are you inviting me into? And you have a laser-like focus on the things that are important. so many of these other things that we get ourselves worked up with, and I would get upset about. I'm like, that is so not important. Why do I care so much about that? And so it has been an amazing blessing.
And it's been a privilege to watch you as a brother increase in your joy in Jesus. Find that you really do trust and treasure him more than anything else. And it's not only been your joy in him in this journey, but also what he's been inviting you into with others, as you kind of shared some of those things with me.
Right. That's one of the things that you don't really know what's going to happen. Like you said, do I want the cancer? Do I want to have those things? No, but that focus, I don't know that you get it any other way. I'd love to be able to have that kind of focus through easy and soft, but I don't. It happens when life throws you something that you can't really expect. And to see how God's working in our life, and be honest with you, more importantly, and it is more important, is what God's doing in the kingdom. We wake up every morning and ask ourselves, God, what are you inviting me into? And to see, first of all, how much people care and actually love and how important relationships are, but to see other people that are being confronted with those same things, to see other people that are kind of along with you during this ride, and then they're confronting those fears, they're confronting those things, and now all of a sudden people on our pray watch list are calling us. Yeah. God has been so good during this process and allowed us opportunities to again bring him glory, because that's what it's about.
Yeah. And when we talk about that pray watch list, often we're praying and watching for opportunities. Now it feels like opportunities are coming to you. People are literally coming to you and saying, Tim, your joy is almost increased. Your contentment, your peace, your happiness. Tell me about that. What's that like?
They don't believe you. Yeah. They don't believe you. They look at your faith, or they look at your relationship with God, and they're like, okay, they're just trying to convince themselves of this. But then they're confronted with face to face. How are you doing? I'm so good. I'm fantastic. No, I am so good. I have a great life. And they're confronted with those same things. Why? Why do you have joy right now? Because I have a great life. I have a focus. And coming to this realization that, we joke about the desperate dependent shirt. This shirt was bought for me a couple of years back. I didn't want to wear it. Yep. I'm confronted with the fact that I'm extremely prideful, that I am a hard worker. I don't want to accept any kind of gifts, any kind of help. I can do it on my own. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Realizing that, no, I am desperate and dependent.
It's awesome to see how God's using your story for his glory, for your good, and your family and your friends, and they get to believe. And yet, like you said, it's still stage 4. And so what is the next step, the long-term prognosis? What are some of those things that you feel like, here's the way you can pray for us, and what's God inviting us into next?
Yeah, I think you say it all the time, prayer is the work. Yeah. And this makes it very clear. It's not Stanford or Kaiser or UC Davis that's going to save me. It's going to be God. Yeah. And so continue prayer for healing, prayer that the treatment would go well, that the chemo would do its job and that it would be operable. That is the goal. And so continued prayer for that, prayer for our family. Ultimately, though, for God's glory.